Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today is the best day of the month, LMIAY, where I gave you guys a prompt last month. You guys answered it, and hopefully had some fun. Maybe cried a little bit because, stuff's hard. And then you submitted it here, and we're going to read through some of those submissions because you guys are creative as frick. Anybody that has read today that also submitted some place to find more of their stories, that'll be in the description below in case you want to show them some love or support for their creativity. And yeah, but before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. The number one way to be featured is through LMIAY, the monthly prompt writing contest where I give you a prompt. You write a short story or a segment for that prompt, and then like today, we will read some of those fragments and hopefully just have a great time because they're pretty fun, they're pretty wild, they're pretty varied because everybody writes so differently, and sometimes they're even by people who don't normally write, so you get quite the variety of choice here. And the other way to be featured is if you are an indie author and you have a book out or a book that is coming out. If you submit your first chapter and your cover page, the chapter will be read here to hopefully be sort of like an audiobook preview. And that way it'll help your book find more readers that are looking for your genre, your story, and be easier to consume. And then they will go and be like, I need to know what's next. I need to know what happens to Beverly after the safe falls on her toe. I need to. And then they'll head over to your store shop and pick up all those books. But, so yes. The third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my books, they're available in the links down below as well. You can find them at any of your favorite places to get books and the library if you ask for them at the library. But they may have to get ordered, but that will share the love with more people. So maybe. It also doesn't cost any money, so maybe. Also, Bleed More, Body More 3 is coming out at the end of this month. That will complete the trilogy of Joey, so you don't have to worry if you were waiting for all of the Joey books to come out before you read it, just to make sure that it finished. That is it. The next Body More book that will come out will be Zero, and it's going to be about Ralph and Casey, whom you meet in the second book and you see more of in the third book. With that said, let's get into this because the stories are a waitin'. So the prompt this month actually came up on the Discord, and it was this image. I think I actually posted it months ago when I found it on Twitter. And it was just this image that said, if you were in a horror movie, and it gave you a subgenre, a setting, a weapon, and a gimmick. And so then I thought, what better way to do a Halloween horror style short story than giving you guys all random prompts to kind of figure out on your own with your information and then seeing what you come up with. So that's where we are. And the first author is Anoni Moose. Anoni Moose. The title, I Wish Johnny Was Here. I stared out from the wood pane window. The snow piled up against the log cabin, at least knee-high now. My tracks were long since covered by the December storms. I dared not start a fire despite the plummeting temperatures. He was coming, and he picked up my scent. Panicked, desperate, I curled up in a dark cloak, hoping that it would provide warmth and camouflage in this unlit room. Night had fallen. The hunt was on. In my haste, I did all that I could to barricade the small hut, boarded up most of the windows, piled logs against the door, drew all of the blinds, but despite the fortification, it felt like nothing more than a giant wooden coffin. I sipped my sanguine supper, half frozen from in the bag, in a silly attempt to calm myself. Through the slits in the boarded windows, I spotted something zipping through the snow afar. Rays of moonlight revealed a rotund silhouette. They moved with an unnatural speed through the snow, now almost waist-high. The door rattled, and with a measured pace, I retreated away into the corner of the cabin. As suddenly as the chaos arrived, it left, and it was silent once more. I breathed a sigh of relief and closed my eyes, praying this nightmare would end. The thud on the roof startled, then again and again. The sound of jingle bells filled the space. I curled up unprepared for the worst and hoping for the best. From the rough stone chimney, the silhouette slid into the room. His entrance sent the Christmas tree rocketing across the room, ornaments spewed through the air. He let out a frantic cackle. My heart leaped into my throat. I drove my heels into the floorboards, distraught at who was before me. Each fruitless leg thrust only squeezed me more into the corner of the room. He tossed a lit cigarette into the fireplace and ignited a fire within. The light revealed my worst fears. A large man in a Santa suit stumbled forward, double-barreled shotgun in hand. "You don't call. You don't write. I'm beginning to think that you don't like me very much anymore." The shotgun stranger called out. I swallowed hard, quivers running down my spine. Speech was impossible. As he stepped forward, the fire grew brighter and his features more visible. "I'll tell you what, let's bury Hitchet, but you're going to do something for me in return." He continued his advance. I shook my head, gasping in despair. "You're going to help me steal the Declaration of Independence." It was Nicolas Cage, vampire hunter. That was amazing! Bro, I need this in my life. I love that Nicolas Cage is, one, dressed as Santa Claus. Two, the Russian accent, faux Russian accent, was spur of the moment, but also him having been Dracula recently, he's embodying everything that he came from before. Oh my gosh. I need this. It is so funny. Bro, that was great. Also, your tension, just fantastic. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. If this is how high we're starting, you guys, the bar is up here. The bar is so high. Oh. The next story is by Mae Tanner. Terugin ground his teeth. Why had Judge Doran demanded they celebrate the holiday when the inhabitants of so many outlying farms and villages were missing? It would make more sense if the chief judge ordered the watchman to investigate the disappearances. His eyes darted around the carnival grounds as he wandered through the crowd. Orfron had promised to meet him there. A booth featured women's beauty paraphernalia. He paused there and bought a curling iron for a Fela. Still glancing around for Orfron, spotting a man at a game booth. After slipping the curling iron into his satchel, he ambled through the crowd to the same booth. Orfron threw a ball at the target, striking a bullseye. "Meet me behind the stage," he murmured out of the side of his mouth. Terugin leaned on the counter as the booth operator handed Orfron an ugly doll with sharp teeth, representing the Autumn Devourer. The operator turned to him with a smile. "Your Honor, would you care to try your skill with the balls?" Terugin eyed the target and hefted a ball. "Is the game honest?" The man placed his hand over his heart. Sweat beaded his brow. He snatched an Autumn Devourer doll from the prize shelf and offered it to Terugin. "Please, accept a prize." "Very well." Terugin accepted the doll and stuffed it into his satchel. He meandered through the carnival grounds until he reached the stage and ducked behind it. Orfron sat under a tree, legs outstretched, his chin resting on his chest as if he were napping. Terugin quickened his pace until he reached his friend's side. He touched the bulkier man's shoulder. "I'm here. What did you learn?" Orfron slumped over. Terugin's eyes widened and he crouched beside his friend. "Orfron, are you all right?" He felt the man's wrist. His pulse was strong. A pair of gloved hands snaked from behind a tree and clasped a set of manacles on both their wrists. Terugin hung loosely on his slight frame as if made for a larger man. The stranger leveled Terugin's gun at him. Terugin bared his teeth at the man, his unfettered hands scrabbling in his satchel. "Shoot. Call the watchman. No one's allowed to fire a gun during a festival." The stranger hesitated a moment, then threw the gun away and drew a dagger. "Shoot. Call the watchman. No one's allowed to shoot a gun during a festival." The stranger hesitated a moment, then threw the gun away and drew a dagger. "Don't need a gun to kill you." He lunged at Terugin. Orfron groaned and sat up, rubbing his head. The dagger skittered across his leather-clad shoulder. Tarujan's fingers found the curling iron that he'd bought earlier and withdrew it from his satchel. It wasn't a normal weapon, but it was a solid metal. He struck his attacker. His blow landed on the stranger's wrist. With a yelp, the attacker dropped his dagger, but he snatched it up with the other hand before Tarujan could grab it and scampered back out of reach. He circled the linked men. Tarujan twisted to keep his foe in sight. He was at greater risk from the dagger than Orfron, as his clothes were cloth. "What's happening?" Tarujan darted a glance at his friend. "We're under attack." Orfron surged to his feet, pulling Tarujan up with him. "Careful, we're cuffed together." Orfron took in their linked wrists before turning his attention to their antagonist. "Is that a man or a woman?" Tarujan scrutinized their assailant. Orfron's questioning raised a doubt in his mind. He assumed the aggressor was a bonded man, but it could be a woman. The Autumn Devourer, costumed, added a couple of inches, but even with that, the figure barely came up to his shoulder. "You think that's a woman? Women ain't allowed weapon training. I'd expect a woman to be clumsier with a dagger." "It could be a wild woman." "Are they that different?" With a low growl, their opponent charged Tarujan, slashing at his arms with a dagger. He blocked the strike with a curling iron. Orfron whirled, trapping their attacker between them. The smaller person dropped, slipping out of their grasp, then rolled away. Orfron laughed. "Woman or not, that little one don't like you." He patted his hip. "That's my dagger the imp is using. All I have is a curling iron I bought for my woman." Their attacker scrambled up and charged past, and again, slashing at Tarujan on the way past. The strike connected, and blood trickled down his arm. "Don't you have a dagger? Why ain't you using that?" "The daggers are low class. I had a pistol, but the demon stole it when she locked us together." "She?" Orfron dug into his satchel and pulled out the Autumn Devourer doll that he'd won earlier. "I think you're right, and it's a woman." "I see." Orfron threw the doll. It hit their attacker on the side of her head, causing the mask to slide around so that the eye holes were no longer lined up with her eyes. The aggressor staggered and reached up to straighten the mask. "I've got one of those dolls in my satchel. Grab it." Oren grunted and plunged his hand into Tarujan's satchel to get the doll. Their attacker turned and darted back toward them. Orfron took aim and let the second doll fly. It hit her forehead. She stumbled backward, one of her feet twisted under her, and she fell. The men pounced on her. Tarujan ripped her mask off to reveal a woman's ravaged face, her eyes wide and staring. Orfron touched his arm. "Terry, she's dead." He glanced up at his friend. "What?" Orfron pointed, the hand gripping the dagger pressed against the woman's side, the blade buried to the hilt. "Look at this." Orfron picked up something from beside the woman's feet. It was the Autumn Devourer doll. This is really cool. I like we don't necessarily have background on what festival they're doing or who the Autumn Devourer is, but obviously there's the dolls, so it's important. I still get a sense of place and a sense of these people, and there was great action in that scene. The beats were quick, they were clear, they were rhythmic, very nice. And I feel like this is part of one of your larger projects. You usually send parts of like a bigger thing, I think. But your characters are always really interesting, and you always do a really great job of like pulling people into the action of the moment to be invested in what's happening. Also, great use of the curling iron. I at least know that that was part of your prompt because I remember that that is a weapon. So some of the choice, and then very nice use of that. I also like that it was. Well, the next story is by Egao Chan, and we have Frozen Greens. Johnson Base, supposedly the newest and best research facility in the frozen barren land of Antarctica. But right now it was completely empty, and Bruce was not why. He was alone here, and all communications that he had with the outside world seemed lost. The solar flare struck their base days before its earliest estimated time of outbreak. It caught everyone in the middle of this particularly terrible snowstorm. A miscalculation on the part of the observatory, no doubt. But what was more important for him right now would be to figure out what was going on. After a sudden loud boom, the lights in the control room kept flashing. The screens were all static. He tried calling his colleagues, Kirkland, Lou, Argawal, and Oze. None of them answered. The digital door lock was offline. Luckily, it did not lock him up in this room. The safety mechanisms kicked in and prevented his becoming a sitting duck in the room without food or water. The hallways and living quarters, the leisure room and bathrooms were all empty. It was as if it was a practical joke. There was no sign of anyone here, ever. Kirkland's salt shaker, Lou's questionable mangas, Argawal's snack plates, and Jose's prank gadgets, all gone without a trace. If he were a scientist, Bruce might have an answer to this, or knew at least where to look. But he wasn't. He was just a cook. A good one, but nowhere as smart as those brainiacs who could do advanced calculus in their heads. Guys? This is really funny. You got me again. Where are you? Bruce looked around and called out, If you don't come out here, I'm about to wipe your test data. Or worse, I'll change your data without telling you. You never heard of bend over kleptom's cheeks effect? I'll ruin your reports. No response. Bruce took a look at the outside through the windows. He could barely see beyond 3 meters. There was no way that they would be hiding outside. Could it be the sample room? That was the only place that he was not allowed to go in. It would be too small for everyone, but it was the only place that he hadn't checked. The sample room was not locked like usual. There were 4 shelves, and each were metal boxes and jars of various sizes. There was a hole on the ground, beside which lay an old-looking wooden crate. The hole was shallow, seemingly just enough to fit the crate. The crate was already pried open, and dried grass on the top of the goods inside was moved to the side. Green objects the size of apples, with numbers spray painted on them. Grenades. How the hell did they get here? There were words on the crates, maybe Japanese, maybe Chinese. Bruce couldn't read either anyway. After a brief moment of thought, he picked 3, 2 of them in his pockets, and 1 held tightly in his hand. I got your Asian grenades. If you don't come out, I'll throw them in the toilet and blow up some shit. Bruce raised his voice again. Still no response. Bruce, a faint female voice whispered it from behind him. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. His back tensed. There was no woman in the space. Who could that be? And how come this voice was so familiar? Hello? Hello? The comms in the room made a sound out of nowhere. It was a male voice. Bruce hesitated, but only for a short moment. The control room was in the same direction of the whisper. He must be hallucinating just now. He was just way too stressful, staying and cooking in this depressingly frozen hell for months and being regularly pranked. Hello? Bruce almost dropped his grenade when he crashed into a chair in front of the mic. This is Johnson Base. Hello? I can't hear you. The man on the other side sounded in a hurry. I have your data analysis results. Please take note of this. We analyzed your data and sent it back. It's definitely a new isotope. But his voice was breaking. It could be dangerous, radioactive, and unstable. So please, handle this with caution. Bruce, the female voice just whispered to him from behind. He turned back, just in time to see the shadow of a woman in a long dress, half white, half drenched in red, disappearing in the hall. Ling! Bruce called out. He had no idea how he knew this name. A drilling headache struck him and threw him onto the ground. Memories, once locked up and buried, started flashing back. The reason that he was there, the reason that he abandoned his comfortable restaurant job and hopped on the first chance to leave town. Ling, the girl he once thought he would never see again. She should have died in that midnight robbery that left him bedridden for weeks. Somehow she followed him here. Bruce, you left me. Soft weeping sounds came from behind him again. He turned back. She was standing in the corner of the room. You left me. I didn't. Bruce felt a knot in his throat. That man, that criminal, he killed you. He murdered you. You could have gone with me, Ling wept. We could have been together in the afterlife. Yes. Bruce wiped his face and smiled. I guess I'll go find you now. He pulled the pin on his grenade. Just when the shadow smiled at him, he threw the grenade toward her and ducked out of the control room. Ling would never say that. It was her that wanted to leave. His ears rang, and he could not stop heaving from the shock of the grenade. The shrapnel didn't hurt him. Something caught his right ankle, something thick, heavy, and liquid. A foul stench filled the room. People were coughing, retching, and vomiting on the floor. Some kind of dark green tar splashed all over on the screens and tables, ruining coffee, bread, and paper sheets. "Bruce, you fucking bastard!" Kirkland cursed. "Why did you do that? And where did you find this dung bomb?" "Ugh, you went into the sample room, you asshole." Lou wiped the corners of his mouth. "Why?" Very nice. Also, incredible tension using everything being abandoned. This guy being a cook into Antarctic mission with all of the scientists. The setup, Egao, your setups are unique, top-notch, so you. And also, I feel like it's like the reason that I really wanted to see your response to the Blackened Teeth Ghost or whatever that stupid book was with Philip. And I'm very excited to read the book of ghost stories that you sent, because I feel like it is very... I'll be able to, like, see a lot of the inspiration. Also, I love ghost books. I love ghost stories. They're just fun. Look, it's not like Bodymore's a ghost story or anything, okay? It's not like I have old Louisville ghost stories stacked up in my room to prepare for writing Not Dead and Still Not Dead, which are going to be more ghost stories of a sort. It's not like I love that stuff. Oh no, Mike. Oh no. You guys better prepare yourself for this, because Mike is taking home the Grammy this time around. So the next story is by the whole daddy, our very own. "Miss Hewitt, the boat has arrived. Do you have your things ready?" I jumped, startled by the voice, my eternal musings broken by a pimple-faced crew member. I must have dozed off. "It's Dr. Hewitt, boy." I cringed at my own harshness. The deep water must be fraying my nerves. Nevertheless, I had a title, and it should be used. Pardon me. Dr. Hewitt Smith. The sarcasm in his voice was thick. He jerked back from the door and sneered. "And it's first makeover, not boy. Grab your shit and hit the Sally Port. Dr. Hewitt Smith, please don't be slow. The main hatchway might blow, but at least your obit will be read. Dr. Hewitt Smith." He turned and left the stateroom before I could reply. I could feel tension running through my fingers. "You little wretch, I'll have your job. You die broke, you little slob. You'll be dead, laid to rest. Don't put my anger to the test. You can handle me, not with a PhD, because I am Dr. Hewitt Smith." I looked into my small personal bag. Not much going on. Just a few personal items. Toiletries, toothbrush, and deodorant, hairspray, tampons, a pack of smuggled cigarettes, and a cheap Bic lighter that may or may not work. My stateroom door was opened with a jerk, and I was startled once again, expecting to see the little shit cabin boy. Not this time. I'd never seen this man. Strange for such a small vessel. "Dr. Hewitt Smith, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Roland Wyman. I am the benefactor of the substation that we are currently in the process of docking at. You've been briefed on the mission, but have you been told too much about the station itself?" I had to admit that indeed I had not been told much about the station. I thought Challenger Deep was a wonderful place for an underwater research lab. I didn't know much about the engineering obstacles. It would be interesting to learn. No, Mr. Wyman. I know very little about the station. My field was medical research, blood disease in particular. Roland, please. He reached his hand to me. I don't shake most of the time. A fist bump is my usual bro greeting. Yet, I felt myself taking his hand in my own as if I had no control of it. I felt almost mesmerized in his presence. Jules. His smile was the warmest thing I'd ever seen. Jules it is. He led me to a small antechamber of sorts. Gizmos, tubes, and dials spun and processed everything from the temperatures of the sea water to the biologics just outside the hull of our submarine. Our station is the only one of its kind in the world. Decades of engineering brilliance and coalescence into what you are about to see. But I will warn you, there are dangers on the other side. You could be killed by an implosion. Our air handlers may fail. Supplies and food might be lost in the mail. Yet we run smoothly, no time for stress. Our staff are under no damaging duress. Your job will be blood, make it stronger indeed, make it last longer. So vampires can feed. I made no effort to try and hide the confusion on my face. Wait, what? Just then the hatch flew open, and I felt Roland's strong hands shove me through. Dim red light shone down the corridor. I was gonna say, let me record. The dim red light shone down the corridor. My bag hit me in the ass as I lay stunned on the floor. Before I could register the sound of the latch closing behind me, a quick thought passed. Did he say vampires? Frantically turning, I saw the door slam shut. Roland! Anybody? Won't you help a poor lady? Please show me some support. Don't leave me locked in here. I'll file a report. This place is scary. I want to go home. Will anybody help me? Don't leave me alone. A flicker of light catches my eye. Suddenly, there's a man talking to me from beyond the dim red lights. Hey, lady, shut up! They'll hear you. I search the near darkness for the owner's voice. Finally, a hand extended through what appeared to be a cage. The slits in the wall offered only the smallest gaps. The man's hand was bony, malnourished. I could see dozens of track marks on his skin. He looked like a pincushion. Don't get them riled up. They'll wake up hungry if you do. My mind was gasping at straws. What are they? Quiet, you dumb bitch. They'll hear you. Shock seeped in. I was numb, but still heard him speak as if he were far away. What are you, doctor, chemist, engineer? From equally far away, I heard my reply. Doctor. Fuck! He pulled his hand quickly back. Yes, fuck indeed. From nowhere, Roland appeared smiling. I screamed. Oh, good Dr. Hewitt Smith has graced us with her presence. Unfortunately for you, good sir, your cooperation will no longer be necessary. I felt the snap of reality hit me. Will someone please tell me what's going on? As I spoke, the door to the cage to our front opened. The man, emaciated and frail, came out swinging. A solid left hook hit Roland square in the jaw. Roland never flinched. Your display is not appreciated. Accept your fate and move along with death. The report brought distant sounds of footsteps and soft growling noises. My apologies for what you are about to see, Jules. I looked at the sickly-looking man. What's happening? Roland led me away as three dangerously gorgeous women arrived. They looked at me like I was a snack. Roland pointed to the guy still standing in front of his cell. Not her, you imbecilic wretches! Him. I felt Roland pull me away as the sound of gnashing teeth echoed through the corridors. Rounding the corner, Roland sat me in a well-lit, well-equipped lab. He sat beside me. He left safe. He felt safe. I don't know why it felt good to have Roland near me, but it did. I had this station created years ago, Jules. He motioned to the entire building. It's all mine, with the help of your government. Do you know why we built it in Challenger Deep? I had no idea. It's because no UV light penetrates. My kind are safe. The government built this for us so that we could live without murdering humans on the surface. We receive small gifts from time to time, mostly in the form of deep-sea adventurers such as yourself. Your job here is to make blood last longer. Super blood, if you will. The longer you can do that, the longer you will live. Do you understand, Jules? Damn, those eyes were hypnotic. Yes, Roland. I sounded like I was nothing more than a slow breeze. Good. Rest. I will visit tomorrow. I woke in a bare room with no windows. Everything from the day before was a blur, and all I remember was vampire. Deep fear gripped me as I looked for anything to fight with. All that I had was my bag. Nothing in it looked very lethal. I threw my bag against the floor when a couple of words caught my eye. Danger, contents under pressure. My hairspray looked at me like it wanted to be used. I picked it up and found one more missing ingredient into my search. My lighter. It was the worst flamethrower in history, but it would have to do. I could hear myself speak. Come get me, Roland. Come get some jewels. I'll burn your ass up, you sick fucking ghouls. I'll go down swinging, no scared little toad. I'll burn your ass up, this tin will explode. Mike, I'm so glad that you submitted that. It was so fun. Also, great job on the lyrics. In case any of you guys are wondering, one of his prompts was a musical was his gimmick, and he did mark the text on where to sing. So you can thank Mike for all of that. I just had the creative liberties of messing around with the way that it sounded and making a modern musical. So all I can say is I hope that there are more musicals in the future. We can figure more things out. The next story is by Snapdragon. On center stage, I danced to the music of Swan Lake, Act 3, the Russian dance. With each violin crescendo and spiccato causes the pain in my head to intensify and then fade. Intensify and fade. The air around grows cold and the music pacing into an allegro tempo. I began develop, then do several peak menage. The music picks up its tempo. Along with it, I faute turns. More and more, the music went faster. More and more, I turn and turn. Suddenly, my eyes snap open to the surrounding darkness. My head objects in pain to the movement of sitting up. Jerk my hand to feel the dead weight of another hand. Eyes adjusting to the dark. I could see my best friend Tina still unconscious. The shuffle of feet came from beyond the darkness. With a flip of the switch, the beginning of Swan Lake played at a low volume. Fully alert now to someone else's presence, whoever it is struck a match, lighting a fire inside of a long furnace.
Looks like you're awake.
The French accent brought instant head pain, and the name Fabien Cloutier. That damn bastard. Should have known. The way that he charms the ladies with his French, even some guys, he will wrap his French words around them like the coils of a snake. His niceness all along is too damn good to be true.
Now.
Fabien claps his hands, stepping into the light. He wears black ballet slippers and a leotard with white tights, the fire giving him a ghoulish look that fits well with his mischievousness.
It is time to go over the plan.
Besides me, Tina stirs. Well, let me guess, I said. You're going to throw us into the furnace and burn us alive?
Ha, ha, ha. You guessed wrong.
Fabien walks toward us.
I am going to throw you into the furnace. Burn you alive.
He got on his tiptoes and strapped one log out behind him, leading down into an arabesque panay.
Then turn you into precious porcelain doll.
Fabien turns around. With a great swoop of the outstretched leg, he cabrioles toward the furnace, land on one foot and chaîne tours.
First, I must show you my masterpieces.
Fabien waved his hand, signaling to something.
Come on out. Don't be shy.
Tap, tap, tap. Dancing end point comes a ballerina in a pink leotard and tutu, her blonde hair pulled back into a bun. The light reflects off her pale skin, making it appear discolored. Her eyes are glossy like a doll. The only light is the reflected firelight, giving them a false sense of life. Tina nudges me in the arm. Blue slippers, she whispers. There is only one ballerina in the whole school who wears those slippers. Claire, that bitch. Thought she abandoned us. Claire has always been the usual mean girl, but she does not deserve this. Fabien earns the spot of the top bitch.
Now he will forever be encased in beauty. Soon you will be just like her.
What, to be like Claire? Said Tina. Yeah, no, I do not want to be like that sob. We are going to pass on this, I added. Sorry, Fabien, it's not to our taste. For dramatic effect, I gave him a sad puppy dog face.
Oh no, there is no option. You're going to be cremated and your bones will be molded into a porcelain doll.
Fabien twirled around.
You will be encased in entire beauty. The forever dance in the spotlight, become a moving sculpture for the audience to admire.
How do you get them to be so lifelike? Asked Tina. Fabien pressed his hand to his chest.
Oh, I am so glad that you are. It's a little thing.
He twirled around.
Called black magic.
Now let me get this straight. Off to the side, noticed a box of grenades. Just beyond that is a faint light coming from a staircase. You're going to cremate us, take our bones to mold to a life-size doll. Nudge Tina. Move my eyebrow from the box, hoping that she understands the plan. Then use the little thing called black magic to animate us. Fabien nods his head.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Tina and I both got to our feet. Fuck you, I spat. We'll be going now. Fabien's eyes widen in alarm.
You make me very stop.
Put his fingers together. His face twists into a diluted smile.
Oh, boys.
Out of the depths of the basement, two male ballerinas wearing black leotards and white tights. Just like Claire, their skin shiny, glossy in the firelight, and their eyes stone dead. We waste no time hurrying to the box, open it to a stock of smooth, round grenades. There are many things ballet schools can teach. Throwing grenades at a fellow classmate turned porcelain doll zombie while handcuffed to your best friend is not one of them. Now, not the time to ponder on the logistics of grenades. Grab one, pull the pin out, and toss it at the porcelain ballerinas, dragging Tina around with me to take cover behind the box. Shockwaves shock the room. Shards of porcelain and think droplets of what could be blood fall everywhere. Tina and I peer from over the cover to see the explosions did the work. Tina and I peer over from the cover to see the explosion did the work, yet did not. Fabian must be the devil himself to have survived. He sits on his knees, leotard in tatters, laughing. Cradled in his hands is the head of Claire. "You've got to be kidding me," remarked Tina. Fabian stopped laughing, got to his feet. Again, he is calling for more henchmen. Oh shit. We both scramble to our feet. I grab another grenade and throw it while forgetting to take the pin out. It lands near Fabian, rolling to his feet. He picks it up, tossing it from hand to hand. Tina pulls me by the handcuff, nearly making me lose my balance. Regaining it, we run to the steps of the stairs. Fabian starts his hysterical laughter.
Ah, 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 ah.
It echoes up the stairs, following up down the hallway until we made it to the grand foyer of the school where the double doors had been boarded up. That is the last of our concerns. Tap, tap, tap came from the feet of more porcelain dolls. Look at Tina for what we do. She jerks her head towards the stairs. Having no choice, we run up the stairs, running to the nearby closet. That together. In a storeroom of darkness, listening. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of delicate porcelain feet comes walking by. Tap, tap, tap. We hold our breath, fearing the creatures that lurk in the halls of Heritage Ballet Academy will hear the whisks of our escaping breaths in our lips. Tap, tap, tap. As the sound fades down the hall, I look at Tina, then the box of grenades. We need no more words for a plan of action. Tina grabs 4 grenades, and I took 2. We walk over to the door, again listening for the sound of feet. Beautiful, beautiful work, Snapdragon. This is really... There's the tension, the imagery, the character Fabian, the characterization Fabian, really. The last story today will be by RSLS. And I know I butcher everybody. Sorry. If anybody asks you I am a butcher by trade, you can determine what that means. For as long as I can remember, the course of my life had been determined by others, but that changes tonight. Tonight, I stand on the threshold of an abandoned James Galt hospital for the criminally insane. Pale blue light from the headlamp is bouncing off flaking plaster walls and rotten wood floors. The air is thick with mold, and try not to breathe that in. The place was in decline when I resided here. It's really gone to hell since. A moan echoes from the corridor. "Who's there?" I ask. Something creeps up from behind me and snaps the warmth from my body. I suck in a quick breath and rub my arms. "Well?" The presence withdraws without answering. Not surprising. Most ghosts lack purpose beyond haunting the place where they died. I step beyond the foyer. The main corridor draws me deeper into the hospital. Dark openings penetrate each side of the long hall. My headlamp brightens. Loose papers scatter across the desk. On the sagging shelves, books silently collect mildew. Before the hospital was shuttered, these rooms served as staff offices. Maybe if I poke around, I'll find a file with my name on it. I already know what it says. Mary Pembroke. Diagnosis: schizophrenia. The next opening looks no different from the previous one, but my peek inside reveals a corridor that branches off perpendicular to this one. Abandon the logical safety of the hospital's original wing, I pass through the gateway and into the cancerous maze of well-intentioned but poorly planned additions. At each intersectional corridor, I turn or continue straight as my inner compass directs me. It all looks the same, festering and forgotten, but I'll be there soon. I can feel it. The floor ahead me ends abruptly, and I creep closer. My headlamp glints off the black, reflective surface of a dozen feet below, water pooled in the flooded basement. Spaced 3 feet apart, the wooden beams that once supported the floor appear intact. Just like skipping across the railroad ties, I tell myself. No big deal. I stretch one leg forward. The beam feels solid enough, so I step onto it. The next beam is rotten in the middle, but it might support my weight closer to the wall. I shuffle to the right and set my foot onto it. The rotten beam doesn't give until I'm fully committed. Scrambling, I throw my weight forward and momentum carries me across the remaining beams. When I reach the opposite side, my toe catches on a loose floorboard and I fall flat onto my face. Cold nips at my ankle. I shut my eyes and roll onto my back. Closing my eyes allows me to perceive the wispy bit of smoke hovering above my feet. The ghost drifts closer, and her features resolve into sunken eyes, an upturned nose, and yellow teeth bared in a grimace. I sit up and smile back. Hi, Gretchen. How are you doing? Her grin widens, and she grabs my hands. Mary, I miss you. I try not to shiver as warmth drains from my arms. I've missed you too. Is anyone else awake? All the noise you just made, I bet everyone is. Great. Let them know that I'm back. I adjust my headlamp and stand up. Not far now. A left and then a right. The next hall looks no different from the others. But I know every scratch laid onto the floor, every dent in the battered wall sconces. I made a few of them myself. Dr. Bellwether? I whisper his name like a prayer. Not a day goes by that I don't think about him. He's the only person that ever cared about me. Yes, my dear. Dr. Bellwether. I close my eyes. He's standing before me, a wide smile brightening his round cherubic face, and he's dressed exactly as I remember. Horn-rimmed glasses, a seersucker suit, and polka dot bow tie. I extend my arms, and he sweeps forward to embrace me. A long hug pulls the remaining heat from me. Drifting back, he asks, "Did I hurt you?" "No," I lie. "Has it been a while since you've seen anyone living?" "There was a ghost hunting team a few months ago, but they stuck to the main building." "Pity," I say. "This wing's far more interesting. The other ghosts on my periphery. The other ghosts crowd my periphery. Gretchen and the rest. A few wear uniforms identifying them as staff, but most wear patient gowns. Dr. Bellwether blocks their approach. Leave her alone." "Why?" a burly orderly growls. "You took your fill. The rest of us deserve a nip." Dr. Bellwether doesn't move. "I'd like to see my old room," I say. "Of course, my dear." I move away from the swarm of ghosts. My teeth chatter and I can't stop shivering. As I pick my way around the hall, I peer into the nearby rooms. Iron bed frames cast skeletal shadows across the floor, and I wonder why someone removed the mattresses but left the frames. "Why did you come back?" a voice whispers in my ear. I've reached my old room. A shiver that has nothing to do with the cold arcs down my spine. I close my eyes again. Dr. Bellwether is standing beside me. No reason. There is always a reason. I step closer to the threshold and into the 6-foot by 10-foot cell that was once my home and sit down on the hard iron bed frame. They never asked if I wanted to leave. The hospital was shut down by the state decree, Dr. Bellwether says. I lay myself across the bed frame's wide-spaced metal bars. Did you know I got a job? I clean tables at a restaurant. When it's slow, I fold napkins and dust plastic plants. You could try making friends, Dr. Bellwether says. No point. The living are stupid. Why are you here, Mary? You already know, I say. He crosses his arms. There's nothing here for you. That's not true. In the hall, ghosts crowd and jostle one another. I can't hold them back much longer, Dr. Bellwether says. I stand up and square my shoulders. My whole life, I've done what other people told me to do. I walk through Dr. Bellwether. So tonight, I'm going to do what I want to do. The swarm of ghosts push forward to greet me. I feel like this could be different variable length. But the setting is really great. You did a great job creating the hospital setting, the tension, the character entering, the relationship he has with the doctor, all in a short amount of time, but especially the setting was beautifully done. You could see it slightly a little bit longer with adding a little bit more detail to prepare, but I'm not entirely. It's also beautiful how it is. But also, if you wanted to. But also your setting is that. Those were all of the stories of today. Which were your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you had a good time. Always a pleasure to get to experience the creativity of this community of people, of those that decide that they want to, come and hang out with us for a little bit, for a little creativity. And thank you so much, everybody. That said, have a great week. Have happy October. Don't die.